Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us with those technical difficulties, and welcome to today's SME Club event. For those of you who I've not met before, my name's Ruby James. I'm the events lead at the Virgin Money store in Manchester, and we're delighted to be sponsoring today's event. I'm also really excited to share our latest personal current account bundle offer with you for our new customers. Along with all the great benefits that the account already offers, such as the ability to pay checks in directly through the app and spending limits, as an extra thank you from us, you'll also receive a free case of virgin wines worth £138, an interest rate of 2.02% on your first £1,000, and also a £50 donation to your chosen Virgin Money Giving registered charity. We'll share the links with you to access that offer after the event. If you do have any further questions, then do get in touch with us. We'd also love to hear what you think about today's event, so do tag us in any of your social posts. We're at Virgin Money on all social platforms. And working in instead of working out is today's discussion topic. So for now, I'll hand over to Andy McGlynn from GSquared Health Club to get started.
Thanks, Ruby. Appreciate that. I'm going to go straight to the slides. So, guys, hopefully you can see that. Catherine, are we good with that?
Yeah, all looks great, Andy.
Splendid. Guys, my apologies for the delay. It was entirely my fault. I'm taking full responsibility. I'm a complete technophobe, but I'm hoping it's been worth the wait. I'm mindful that we're sort of 13 minutes in, so I'm going to be very succinct and very clear with what I go through. I would really urge you to make notes as we talk, because there's going to be a lot of information I think may be of help to you. Now, we coined this phrase working in because we wanted to try and get more people feeling confident about training, movement and activity. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we have so much ill health and so many challenges in this kind of modern day society that it's not particularly appealing to go through very aggressive training sessions. However, there is so much that you can do that still gets results. Quick intro about myself, if you don't know. I've worked with pretty much most of the major gym chains across 18 years. I now operate as the CEO to GSquared Clubs just in the Royal Exchange in St Anne's Square. I'm a clinical nutritionist, also functional diagnostic nutritionist, which means I assess lab reports for blood tests and saliva samples and gut health. And I'm also a movement specialist, so I look at posture and movement of the body. So I've kind of covered what we already talk about when we referred or we coined this phrase working in. It's about building your inner stores, guys, and about creating robustness both physically and mentally. And so many people go into a gym or a training session without a strong foundation of health. For example, addressing your nutrition deficiencies. We've got things called micronutrients, which are essentially your vitamins and minerals. And we know now through research, we know absolutely comprehensively that most of us have some form of nutrition deficiency. And that becomes a risk or a problem to our health, our vitality, our entire lifestyle, notwithstanding a workout or a training session laid on top of that. Other factors to consider are the postural distortions, the movement inefficiencies, so that lower back pain, that kind of twinges, the sciatic nerve that you get triggering from time to time, joint pain, underactive muscle groups. As we get older, the first muscles to decondition are the abdominals and the glutes. So in any training session I would administer for anyone over the age of 30, they would have to have some form of abdominal or stomach exercises as well as gluteal exercises, working the backside muscles. And then we have very dominant muscle groups. If we're using the mouse all day on our laptops or our computers, we run the risk of RSI, repetitive strain injury, which is predominantly in the AC joint of the shoulders. We know we have overactive trapezius muscles, we have shortened hamstrings, shortened calves. What's interesting about the calves, by the way, and I will digress off everywhere, guys, so bear with me on that one, but it's useful digression. One of the quickest ways to tell if someone's quite stressed physically is if they have very tight calves. There's a very bizarre, slightly inexplainable link from traditional Chinese medicine that links meridian points in the calves to your adrenal glands. On that, adrenal imbalance is pretty much implicated in every single person, and you're going to see some charts in a second that explains exactly what that is, because it's a phrase that's used a lot but not really fully understood. And linked with adrenal imbalance is insulin resistance. Cortisol, which is our main stress hormone, is linked closely to insulin. And for so many years now, guys, I have despaired as to why gym chains haven't shared this information up front. I've never understood it. They've allowed members to go into very aggressive training sessions or classes and never really assessed and educated the individual on what foundational components need to be in place. In this presentation, I'm going to cover just 4. That's really all we have time for, and I will probably have to speed through some of them, but we're going to talk about how you overcome stress. First of all, understand what stress is, because I know you'd be thinking, well, I don't feel stressed, but that doesn't say that you've not got stresses in the body. We'll take a quick look at sleep and some of the little known points about sleep that are absolutely crucial to longevity of life and health. We're going to look at eating for the seasons. Right now, it's gotten a little bit milder, but it's incredibly bitter at the moment, and it's the worst time to go on a weight loss plan. But again, the industry has kind of cajoled and convinced us that January is the time for losing weight, and that is just so against every connection we have to the planet, and we'll talk about that. And then finally, we'll look at gut health and why that is so important, especially during COVID, because gut health, guys, is 70% of your immunity. Right, let's take a look at stress first of all. Now, this is what the 4 stages of adrenal response look like. What do you remember adrenal response? Basically how you get through life, guys. So we can't say don't get stressed, because you're going to. It's just the way of life. It's just how it is. But what we're looking at is how you respond to the stressors coming in, whether it's nutrition deficiencies, starvation, lack of sleep, excessive stimulants, aches and pains, exposure to cold, exposure to heat, work stress, emotional stress. You know, there's probably about 25 different stresses that you could be suffering with right now. And as a coach, it's down to me to understand what's actually stressing your body, because there are real ramifications to this. Where you should be is here in the green. This is stage 1, known as adaptation or homeostasis. So you get a stress response and the body deals with it. And it might deal with it by increasing your cortisol some. So 16 is an average figure, and it raises to kind of meet the demands. Stage 2 is where we end up into a phase called stressed and wired. And you'll kind of know when you're here, because you're living off what we call nervous energy. You might struggle to switch off at night. You might struggle to put your laptop down. You might feel addicted to work. You'll be addicted to dramas in your life, because adrenaline and cortisol and norepinephrine are very addictive to the body. That's why we like to go to amusement parks and theme parks. That's why we watch scary films, because we get a buzz from that adrenal boost, if you will. However, when we start to enter into stage 3, so let's say you've just ignored this and you've just powered through, you're on the coffee, you're getting through each day, you don't feel great, but you're okay. What happens now is you move into what's called the compensatory phase. And this is where cortisol starts to actually drop down. And now you're moving towards what we call exhaustion or failed adaptation. Now, most of you guys are in between these 2 red lines. So you're either at the point of being stressed and wired, where you've got compromised immunity, you might struggle to lose body fat, you might have decreased libido, you might have low morning energy, you might have disrupted sleep at night times. And these are all kind of symptoms that I'm kind of throwing at you right now, in the hope that you might recognize some of them. I'm not trying to kind of convincing you have a problem. I'm just saying that in the modern day world, we are overly reliant on our adrenal glands, and it's becoming a problem. And the biggest factor in the UK is the fact that it suppresses immunity. Now, if you imagine you're going into a New Year workout campaign and you're already here, can you see how unintuitive and not particularly clever that is? Because all you're doing is putting more stress on your body. Now, how do you know how stressed you are? Well, we can do subjective questionnaires. I've got plenty of them we can go through. You've probably got an idea from some of the symptoms I've talked about, or you can get a 4-point saliva test. Very simple test. We issue these to our members in GSquared. Non-members would pay a small fee for them. They get sent off to the laboratory, and this is what we get back. So I'll make sense of what this looks like. This is what's called the diurnal rhythm, because we are diurnal beings, guys. We wake during the day and we go to sleep at night time when it's dark. And you've got here the 4 measurements. So we've got nanomoles per litre. This is the reference range, what it should be. And in this case, with this client, no names mentioned, this is what it actually is. So you'd look at this cortisol sum of 21, and you'd say, okay, well, that's okay, right? Because 21 is here. Now, herein lies the problem. How do we know if it's 21 in adaptation or 21 and they're about to burn out? How do we know if it's going up or going down? So it's very important that we don't just look at the cortisol sum and say, yeah, all is well. What's more important are this reading, DHEA-S morning reading. What this refers to is that DHEA is beginning to get suppressed. And DHEA in the body is a hormone. It's one of our sex hormones. It's the kind of building blocks that make us male or female, and it's beginning to get suppressed. It's the first sign of adrenal function. So if the reference range is 2 to 19 and this person's coming at 1.1, I know immediately, going back to this slide, I know immediately that they are going to be in this phase. They're in compensatory. So there's a problem straight away. They're not here, they're on this side of the fence. And then the more interesting reading to see how in depth the problem is the cortisol to DHEA ratio. And this person right here is really on, it's a female, she's on her last legs in terms of adrenal function. Because what we've got is a reference range of 1 to 4, and the cortisol to DHEA is 11 to 1. So it is way out of whack. And that means an immediate intervention. So when I got this report for the member, I wanted to meet with her as soon as possible, and I put measures in place to start to repair the adrenals. That's as complex as we get, guys. I wanted to give you this just to show you how deep the rabbit hole really goes in terms of health and fitness. I'm not here to talk about don't eat chips and crisps and get yourself on a diet as soon as possible and count your macros. That is very, very superficial. We're talking about real deep holistic health protocols that can have a profound effect on your lifestyle, on your entire life, your relationships, your work, your energy levels, your morning energy, your immunity, the aging, the rate of aging, everything. And the thing is, if you actually build a foundation first, so if you use January, February, and maybe a bit of March first to build a foundation before you go into a workout program, you will actually get better results because you're changing what's called the DNA. I was going to give you the full phrase there, deoxyribonucleic acid, the DNA expression. So you're actually changing your gene expression, which can only be a good thing for later in life, and if you're looking to obviously have a family. You will get better and quicker results in the long run. Like if your body is stressed, you will have a harder time shifting body fat. You'll have to really force the issue. That's why so many people go on such aggressive diets, because their body's clinging on to the body fat. It doesn't want to let it go because it's in a stressed state. So if you work on these factors I talked to you about, these factors of sleep, balancing your adrenals, eating for the seasons, and gut health, you'll get quicker results and a better bang for your buck. So let's look at enhancing your sleep first of all. But guys, please ask me questions as we go. And also, please make notes. It's so important that you make notes and you action some of these, because it's going to give you a real impact. So, first of all, first thing I'm talking about sleep is a thing called autophagy. Autophagy is an internal housekeeping process, and it removes damaged proteins, stored fat, key point, and waste products from the body, predominantly waste products. And I'm not sure if you've heard me say this in the past, but if the quickest way to get fat is to basically trash your sleeping patterns, because it places an enormous stress on the body. And what happens with us, with our bodies as we get older, is we have excessive levels of what's called mTOR, which is a mechanistic target of rapamycin. And rapamycin is known for actually prolonging life or extending life as a medication. And our bodies produce this inflammatory protein that does need to be removed or detoxified, if you will. And if you don't have a optimal autophagy process, then you are risking a downregulated version, and you're not getting that detoxification, that housekeeping process that goes on during the night while you sleep as well as you could be. That's why some people age slowly, some people age quickly. It's not just pot luck or just, look at the drawer. It's real physiological factors going on. So if you want to trigger optimal autophagy, guys, you've got to be looking to try and create a 12-hour window of eating. So, for example, 7 till 7, do a 2 to 3 hour period of fasting before bedtime. Don't like the word fasting, but just so you understand what I'm saying. So you're getting this kind of 12 hours worth of not eating to allow the body to do its thing with this housekeeping process. That's the biggest thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to sleep. And that's why I would encourage you and try and influence you to focus on improving your sleep, because of that one thing right there on the screen, autophagy. It's the one thing that's going to keep you in absolute optimal levels of health. And if you're not doing that before you get into a working out program, you're just asking for trouble, quite frankly, because you're overloading the body with priorities, stresses, demands, and eventually we are one big kinetic chain, and eventually one part of that chain, one link, is going to break. Now, just to clarify, in the evening, where it says there from 7 till 7, that's not to say that come 7 o'clock you can't eat anything else until the next day. I appreciate some people have different appetites because they have different levels of ghrelin and leptin, which is our hunger hormones. So a small snack is absolutely permissible. That's absolutely fine. So if you get to, like, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock at night, you're thinking, I really could just do with something before I go to bed. That's fine. That's not the end of the world. That's not going to break the bank. It's not going to ruin the whole process. It's more important that you do that than to go to bed hungry, because going to bed hungry is going to be harder for you to get to sleep. Now, I know a lot of my fellow peers and coaches talk to their clients and say, just get to bed, just go to sleep at a certain time. If only it was that easy, right? We all run businesses, we've all got demanding jobs, or we're all involved in companies that place huge demands on us. And if you are stressed and wired, that phrase I used earlier, so stage 2 stroke stage 3 of adrenal dysfunction, you're not going to be able to get to sleep particularly easily. The research suggests that if you can be asleep within 30 minutes, that's a good lead time of going to bed and being asleep. If you're really exhausted, it could be literally 30% of that. It could be literally within 10 minutes of putting your head in the pillow, you're asleep. But in many cases, guys, we know that we'll lay there for maybe an hour to 2 hours. So if you think you are in that phase of being stressed and wired, you struggle to switch off, right there on the screen, I'm not going to read them out. It's for you to look at and make notes what you think will work. Right there are some ways for you to calm your body down during the evening. Different things work for different people. Now, before today, guys, I would not have included cinnamon in that process. It just would have been valerian root, lemon balm, lavender, maybe even cherry extract. Tart cherry extract is really powerful for reducing inflammation. But what was really fascinating is that I actually had a cinnamon drink the other night before to bed, and I've struggle with my blood sugar regulation, and cinnamon is renowned for improving pre-diabetes, blood sugar regulation, and inflammation in the body. And it actually dramatically reduced the lead time in going to sleep. So different things work for different people. In all cases, I can't enforce magnesium bath salts enough. Few of the points to bear in mind. Coffee, big proponent of coffee. Coffee, or caffeine I should say, is a very powerful liver detoxifier. Studies have shown that people that do drink coffee live on average 5 years longer. But again, take that with a pinch of salt. It's just kind of emphasizing that caffeine is a good thing for your body. However, it's an adenosine blocker. And adenosine is a hormone that is released and triggers other hormones like GABA, melatonin, and serotonin. So if you are drinking your coffee too late in the afternoon, with its half-life of 5 hours, half the coffee could still be in your system by midnight, and it will limit the deep sleep that you are deriving, guys. We kind of wade in and out of light sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, deep sleep. So REM sleep, non-REM sleep, REM sleep, non-REM, and it kind of waves in and out every sort of 70 to 80 minutes. That's how it's really supposed to work. So if you do any sleep tracking, you'll see that you go in waves of REM and non-REM. Caffeine, unfortunately, will block the deeper sleep. And also a point on alcohol. We know that alcohol can help us sleep, but actually it doesn't. It actually just sends you into a sedated state. So I get it completely. I've had clients who've been suffering from depression, and they've said, the alcohol just helps me to sleep. Well, sadly, short game, it does help you to be sedated, but long term, it's not helping to repair the brain and the mental functions. So as hard as it is to come off the alcohol because it helps you to sleep, it would actually be better to repair the mental issues longer term. Let's move into eating for the seasons. So I've said it already, I'll say it again. It is not the right time for losing weight. Let the slides catch up. It's actually the worst time to lose weight, guys. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry. I think my laptop's officially going to retire after this presentation, guys, involuntarily so as well. Yeah, it's the worst time to lose weight. Why? Because the way we're connected to the planet, biorhythmically and energetically, it's a time for storing up. It's a time for building resources, and especially with the COVID challenges we've had on top of that. It's been a particularly brutally cold winter. And if you go on a weight loss diet now without having sorted your sleep issues, without having addressed your adrenal balance, without having the right nutrient deficiencies addressed, you run the risk of what's called a thyroid jolt. Thyroid, as we know, controls metabolism, controls temperature. It also controls the adrenals. Interestingly, it has a direct impact on adrenals. And if your adrenals are suppressed, it will suppress thyroid function. So I'm just saying to you, officially, you've heard it here first, and I'll say it to you again, January, February, and maybe early March are the worst times to go on a diet to lose weight. It's really about addressing the health factors now. You've got to really preserve your mental health, guys, at all costs. How do you do that? Well, there's loads of things we can do. So again, I don't want to read the slide. I want you to look at the slide and think. I'll talk around some of the points here, but I really don't want to do death by PowerPoint. Dark chocolate and coffee. If you are really struggling right now, guys, you'll be bouncing off the walls with a bit of dark chocolate, high cocoa content, 75% plus, with a caffeine, which is going to boost your dopamine levels. And coffee is very popular with GABA types. You'll know exactly what I mean in a second when I talk about GABA types, because I've got a questionnaire you can email me and I'll send it out to you to ascertain your dominant and deficient neurotransmitter. But there's a thing in dark chocolate called N-acetylphenylamine, and that's what helps trigger dopamine. Fatty fish or fish oil supplements, the active ingredient to look for on the label is EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Just remember, EPA for the body, DHA for the brain. I'll say that again. So EPA for the body, so joint pains, fat loss, cardiovascular function, and then DHA for improved cognition and improved mental function. Reason why I say that is if you go to the shops and you look for an omega-3 supplementation, look at the balance between the two. In fact, I'd go one step further, guys, and say to you, if you're thinking of supplementing, please come and talk to me. Just drop me an email and ask me for the preferred brands. They're not available in the high street. We have a lot of members in GSquared, and they come to us asking the same questions. They produce a bottle of something from a high street, I won't mention names, but a high street well-known chemist, and they've not really got the results or the changes they were hoping for. Normally because they're dosing too low or the blend just isn't quite good quality enough. Bananas are great, but I appreciate some people struggle with bananas. You'll understand why in a second. And berries, guys, try and source yourselves dark, thin-skinned berries, because the polyphenols, which is interestingly, polyphenols is one of the reasons why the US has suffered so severely with COVID. They, amongst others, sadly UK as well, so UK, India, Brazil, and the US, and Russia, although we can't really trust Russia's stats because they just make them up. But certainly the US, Brazil, and India and UK have the worst death rates, sadly, of COVID in the world. And tragically, guys, Britain has the highest death rate per capita. So we're about 118,000 deaths so far versus 68 million people. But in the American diet, polyphenols, which is a powerful anti-inflammatory, are particularly low in the American diet versus the Mediterranean diet. And you've got things called anthocyanins, which are found in the dark berries that been proven now from research to reduce depressed state symptoms by up to 40%. Right, I mentioned it a second ago, neurotransmitters, guys, there's 4 of them. Dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, and GABA. And you'll find that you are dominant in one and deficient in the other. And there's a very simple questionnaire. I have it on my system. It's called the Braverman Test, created by a chap called Dr. Eric Braverman. Just a simple, there it is right there, simple subjective questionnaire. If I send it out to you, you answer the questions, and it will flag which one you're dominant and which one you are deficient. And the idea is that you would try to bolster your deficient one. So if you're low in serotonin, you'll kind of know, because you'll be craving sweet, salty, sugary food at night time. So you'd be like eating like chocolate covered bacon at 10 o'clock to get that high, but it's not high, to get that kind of calming, enhanced euphoric feeling that serotonin gives you. So recommendation would be to go for the lower GI, higher quantity of carbs in your evening meal. That will help a lot. It's a good starting point at least. But serotonin, this is a really important point, guys. Serotonin is made in the gut almost exclusively. So if you have poor gut health, I assure you, you will be having low serotonin. If you have low dopamine, we've already talked about it, try incorporating nuts or try the coffee and chocolate trick. Don't sweat the issues around calories from chocolate, guys, please. Top priority right now, January, February, and March, and through COVID, is preserving mental health. And there's loads you can do. If you're low in acetylcholine, that's like the get up and go neurotransmitter, then it's good to go for high quality, locally sourced red meats. But if you are vegan or vegetarian, that doesn't work for you, then look for anything that's got L-carnitine. L-carnitine is an energizing amino acid. Unfortunately, you do have to take high doses because you only get about 15% absorption rate. And then if you are low GABA, you want to try and induce melatonin. And again, that happens through enhanced gut health or inducing magnesium baths. Magnesium baths induce it. And the other thing I was going to say about that, oh yeah, melatonin supplementation. You can take it, but please, guys, if you're going to do a melatonin supplementation, do not go above 1 milligrams. I've tried different dosing, and anything above 1 milligrams simply doesn't work. With melatonin supplementation, less is more. And I do not recommend under 18 years of age individuals taking melatonin at all, because it could disrupt their own production. Okay, Hopefully the questions are building at the end. I'm going to start to move towards wrapping this up, just because I want to create, we've got an hour, but I wanted to create plenty of opportunity for questions. So I'm going to touch on gut health. So first of all, there are 4 key issues with gut health. We've talked about it, so now we're going to get into the absolute detail of it. The first one is what we call dysbiosis, which is essentially an imbalance of bacteria between good bacteria and bad bacteria. So the first thing that most people need to do, guys, is address that imbalance. It's rife in supposed advanced countries because we're eating so many foods that are actually destroying the good bacteria. We've got fluoride in our taps, which again downregulates good bacteria. Stimulants, stress, medication, all has a profound effect on our good bacteria, what's known as our microbiome. Second issue that people have is IBS, otherwise known as intestinal permeability. This is actually quite simple. A lot of people really suffer from this, but when you know what you're doing to rectify it, it's actually no longer a problem. Something causes the tight junctions. So around the epithelial lining of your guts, which is like your cell lining, you have these things called tight junctions. And if something causes the tight junctions to open, normally a particle that the body decides we're not going to digest that, for whatever reason, it sees the particle as a threat to the body, or it's an allergen, or it's an intolerance to the body, or it's something the body perceives as being a threat, then the tight junctions open and it releases down the portal vein to the liver, which is when you get the IBS symptoms. So really it's about going back a few steps. It's not about taking medication. It really isn't. It's about understanding why the IBS is happening in the first place. One of the biggest challenges we have at the moment, particularly with guys, when I say guys, I mean men, is downregulation of hydrochloric acid. Same reasons for dysbiosis, guys. Stomach enzymes decrease through aging, but also through increased stress to the body, because the gut is just obliterated by constant stress. And the problem is that it actually creates a zinc deficiency. And the issue with that is that in men, zinc is so important for boosting testosterone, because zinc creates luteinizing hormone, and luteinizing hormone creates testosterone. And any man that has a zinc deficiency I absolutely 100% guarantee it, I'll put my house on it, they're going to have a lower testosterone reading. It's beyond the scope of today. I would love to go into this in more detail. It's a whole subject on its own. But if you want to talk to me more about that, please drop me a note, and I'll go in more detail about what you can do very simply to improve and address the achlorhydria, which is downregulation of HCl, and how that affects male and female, because zinc is required for balancing the estrogens, estriol, estradiol, and estrione, 3 different estrogens we've got, and also to improve the detoxification of estrogen in women. And the fourth issue is what we call blunted brush border. This is the villi, which helps to kind of move the food through the digestive tract, process called peristalsis. And what can happen is if those little brushes or hairs become worn down through stress, by putting too much stress on the stomach, or the GI I should say, then you end up with a slower rate of digesting of the food. Food sits in your system for longer, starts to ferment, and then causes dysbiosis and other parasitic symptoms. So we've talked about it already. Just wait for the slides to catch up. So these are all the causes, guys. These are all the causes of IBS. So it might be that you are eating a food that you are simply intolerant to. There might be a parasite or bacteria infection going on. You might have an imbalance of bacteria that flares up when you're particularly stressed. I know that thrush can do that. When people are really stressed, their candida can just throw way out of whack. Or you might find you get IBS when you get particularly stressed. Again, it comes back to balancing your adrenals and limiting the blood cortisol. And we have this thing called sympathetic nervous system. So it's a switch. You're either parasympathetic or sympathetic. Parasympathetic is your rest digest state. So you're in a calm state. You can still be quick and you can still be quick thinking and move around and productive. I'm not saying you have to navel gaze and sit there and cross your legs and meditate. Like, to be in a parasympathetic state, you can still be functioning normally. A lot of it's to do with the mindset. But if you are allowing yourself to get stressed and get swept along with life, then yeah, you're going to be in a sympathetic state. And that's going to induce cortisol, because the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, which pretty much control the adrenals, are going to be just on all the time. So what you can do, again, to reiterate the point, you can switch your body to a parasympathetic state by doing meditation each day, stretching in the evening, those magnesium bath salts I talked about, yoga, breathing exercises. There's so many things you can do there. Second thing you want to do, guys, it's called an elimination diet. Not a big fan of the word diet, but you understand what I'm saying. Hone in on foods that you think might be causing an intolerant response from the body. So 30 to 45 minutes after eating a food, check in with how you feel. If you start to feel a bit of brain fog, a bit cloudy, a bit lethargic, sluggish, bloating, stomach rumbling, then yeah, you've probably just consumed a food that you are intolerant to. Vitamin D3. Right now, guys, I'm going to put more money in it that you are probably either insufficient or deficient in D3. And I would recommend strongly that you consider a D3 supplement into your routine. You want to start around about 2,000 international units a day and then increasing upwards from there. But that has been proven to help with IBS. You may want to consider a parasite or bacteria cleanse. I know it sounds gross, but many people will be surprised when they find out they have some form of bacteria. And again, we can test for this using lab testing, but people will be surprised when they find out they've got a parasite or a bacteria in their system. H. pylori is a common one. Coli. Think about all the meats that you might have eaten that may have been infected. Think about the exotic countries you've gone to. Think about the amount of contact you've had with animals that might be carrying this, and other people, dare I say. There's so many possible channels into you carrying a parasitic or bacteria infection. The good news is these three herbs here, wormwood, black walnut, clove, not the best taste in the world. Not going to win any awards for great tasting, but certainly will destroy and kill the parasite or bacteria over a prolonged use of time. I'm thinking 21 to 28 days, guys. Again, we can advise where you can get that from. And then when it comes to kind of repairing that gut lining, any blends that include glutamine, which is an amino acid, aloe vera, which I'm sure you've heard about, and licorice can really seriously help the gut lining. And avocado, bit of a superfood, avocado. So much so that the Remedy Kitchen in St Anne's Square in Royal Exchange Arcade, they have their incredible smoothie. It's called the Morning Miracle. Hope I've got that right. And they use avocado in that for a really powerful anti-inflammatory, particularly gut anti-inflammatory drink. If you're going down there at any point for meal prep, they're doing a meal prep service, you might want to ask if they can make you a green smoothie. Pretty special. But yeah, avocados. This is a big one for the guys again. So any brothers, fathers, sons, boyfriends, husbands, you've got to get your fellas on avocado. Why? Well, for these next two reasons here. It contains a sterol called beta-cytosterol, which is absolutely crucial for prostate health. And second to that, it's a very powerful antibacterial, particularly towards helping to overcome E. coli. Again, very common E. coli and H. pylori in the gut. But for men, I really strongly recommend the avocados. Very, very dense in antioxidants, vitamin C and vitamin E, and magnesium as well, and a great source of plant-based omega-3. Okay, starting to wrap up, let's look at dysbiosis. We know that refined sugar actually feeds bad bacteria. And what's interesting now, guys, they're actually using lumps of glucose to test for tumours in the body, because the tumour actually feeds off the sugar. So that's quite scary. They're actually doing scans They're giving the patient like a sugar pill, if you will, and then the tumour actually glows on the scan. So refined sugar against a whole different presentation, and I'm not going to preach to you, but we are at the moment consuming 3 times the amount of refined sugar each week that we should be, and that is a problem. It's a problem for your gut health, your immunity, because it suppresses white blood cell activity, and it does feed any ill health in the body. Dysbiosis can come on after a course of antibiotics. Also can be a lack of what's called butyrate, which is prebiotics in the diet. Stress, we know for a fact, is going to downregulate it. Food poisoning, and then this kind of what we call small intestinal bacterial overgrowth known as Candida. Now, guys, this is actually quite important as well. We've talked about prebiotics there in the form of butyrate, but probiotics as well are equally, think of it as a double-edged, like a two-pronged approach. Prebiotics to feed the good bacteria and probiotics to get more of the good bacteria into your stomach. Now, different strains of probiotics actually have different impacts on the body. So if you've got depression, just take a look at which strains of probiotics can actually help you with that, along with the foods I recommended. Look at what can help you with weight loss. And if you've got any issues with cardiovascular or heart health, whether it's high blood pressure, or if you know you have any cardiovascular problems, then again, look at considering these strains of probiotics in your diet. Prebiotic foods include good quality oats, slightly unripe bananas, white rice, white potato, and also just thrown in there the artichoke, known as the Bethlehem artichoke. If you want to incorporate that into your food, that's a very powerful prebiotic. Now, how do you know if you've got good or bad gut health? Well, guys, it's something you can do tomorrow morning straight away. You can do what's called the spit test. You take a glass of water, and yeah, as you guessed, you just spit into it, and you do it first thing before you've drunk or eaten anything, and the results will be as follows. If you get anything like these images here in the first couple of minutes, then it suggests that you've got probably quite a severe case of Candida. If it takes about 5 minutes to form, then you've probably got a moderate case, but there's still work to be done. But if you leave it on the side, after 15 minutes, nothing's really happened, then yeah, you're in really good condition with your gut health. You've got nothing to be concerned about. Don't be bent out of shape if you do have something forming within 5 minutes. Just know that we are made up of bacteria, and it's about getting the good bacteria into your system based on the suggestions I've given you. And really, guys, as an overview, that's really how we see it. So this kind of performance pyramid progression before we get to working out is here. It's sorting your posture out, dealing with the nutritional plan, i.e. nutrition deficiencies, and fixing any movement deficiency or parasympathetic training or coaching through various exercises that we actually do in the online transformation called GSquared Experience, which again our members get as part of their membership. Do all this first. Do it now, guys. Do it right now during January, February, March, so that when the gyms do open and you've got access to other equipment, you're then going to be ready for a working out phase. That would be the prudent, intelligent way of going about it. Now, I've used this phrase parasympathetic a lot, and when I talk about parasympathetic exercise, I'm talking about exercise that's enjoyable. You don't add any sets or reps to it. Forget counting things, guys. It's just basically a simple movement that you associate good feelings to it, that's easy for you to perform. It's not going to be challenging. And the slower, really important point, the slower you move, the more energy you build within you. So it's not just going through reps like rogue routine, you're actually going through slowly and mindfully and feeling the energy really building inside your body, as well as switching yourself off into this parasympathetic state, which helps to control your adrenals. There's so much you can do. Guys, that's it from me. Quite a lot of content there. I hope some of it was of use to you. We're going to switch back to the main screen in a second where you can throw questions at me. But just so you know what else we're doing, we've got loads of things going on. We're doing Instagram lives every Monday and every Thursday. Just look for us on Instagram, GSquared Clubs. We do a welfare webinar, 12:30, very short one, literally 15 minutes, every Monday during lockdown. 12:30, we go through tips and ideas to get through lockdown, to stay on top of your mental and physical health. And then every single day on LinkedIn, you'll see short Q&As, just based around different components about the gym, about health, holistics, pretty much, you know, anything and everything. And that's it from me. So I'm going to switch back to the main screen, unless Catherine can do it for me, because I'm so useless at these things.
If you just close your slides, Andy, it should automatically come back up.
Splendid.
Have you got it?
I believe so.
Perfect. There's some questions for you in the Q&A.
Okay. Guys, I'll just go straight to the questions. Gosh, this is slow today, my end. Okay, so when is the health club opening? Oh, lost it. Right, can we have a copy of the slides, please? Yes, we'll do our best. Obviously, you can't email them because it's too big a file, but I'll find a way of getting them to you. Richard, just drop me an email, inquiries@gsquaredclubs.com, or speak to Catherine and we'll get that to you. What are your views on smaller eating windows to boost autophagy phase? My views on smaller eating really depends on what you're training for, how your body metabolizes, your gender, your predisposition, your genes. There is so many factors to consider. What I would say is if you have been doing smaller but more regular meals, and that works for you, then stay with it. So I don't think the actual quantity during that 12-hour window is of real significance to the autophagy phase. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't think it's an issue if you have a smaller snack later in the evening. Just maybe have a play around with timings of that. If you've got any more on that you want to share with me, then feel free to ask. Okay, any advice for us workers that are stuck at home in terms of health and fitness structure? Yeah, very much so. So the first thing you've got to do is really iCal it. You've got to get it in the diary, otherwise it's not going to get done. Secondly, we talk about on the welfare webinar, when you get that sense of claustrophobia in the work office space at home, you've got to stop forcing it, because that's when you are going to that kind of adrenal response, and that's becoming counterproductive. Memory recall, coordination starts to slow down, insulin starts getting affected, blood cortisol starts to increase, and it becomes a very catabolic process, both physically and mentally. So you really should break off at that point. I would suggest to you, don't worry too much about having equipment. We've created the GSquared Experience, which is an online transformation program. We've done 6 programs across 12 weeks, 6 separate programs, none of which contain equipment. Maybe a foam roller and a Swiss ball for real optimal levels of training, but there is a ton of exercises you can do that don't require equipment. In terms of structure, I would say if you can get moving as soon as you can in the day, so start with a walk in the morning when you wake. That would be the optimal method, because the minute you are up and moving, when you're up, even if you feel tired, it starts to get all the body functions in process. You might want to consider some training midday during your lunch, very short workout. Don't stress too much about the duration of it. And then in the evening, it's really about trying to do the calming stuff like the stretches. So walking or cardiovascular activity in the morning, something that's going to put a stress on the bones and the muscles during the daytime, like bodyweight exercises, yoga, Pilates, any form of bodyweight training. And then in the evening, once you've had that bath with magnesium salts and you've had your evening meal, then consider some form of stretching. I've noticed that when I train at night time, my sleep is compromised. Why? Because training induces a cortisol response, and cortisol keeps us up. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to get us out of bed and get us moving. It's not the bad guy. It's become the bad guy because we're too imbalanced with it. That's the problem there. When is the health club opening? Are you still taking on members? Will you have personal trainers? When the health club opening? We're opening pretty much as soon as lockdown lifts. We are going to be intelligent, and we're not going to go rushing into it, because already now the government's already kind of like stuttering and stammering on what they're looking to do. So I would say that we'll probably give it maybe a week to 10 days, see how the land lies. Though the last thing we want to do, guys, is open and then close again. You know, we've all had enough of these false starts, right? So we're going to wait for the announcement. We're good to go our end. We're going to maybe give it the 7 days, see what's going on in the industry, and then we'll open. But the key, guys, is when we open, we want to stay open. So don't panic. We're ahead of the curve in terms of where we are in readiness for opening. We've got through all the challenges of the suppliers. Some suppliers were affected massively, but we've overcome that. So we're all good. Are you still taking on members? Yes, but spaces are limited. I'm just going to really make this point. This is quite an important point. We are in pre-launch right now, and we are not going to saturate the memberships and opening the doors, because we've put such a message out there that we're all about customer service, and we're all about giving this incredible kind of product offering. If we take too many members on and we can't deliver the U-squared journey, and we can't deliver the level of service we want to deliver, first impressions last, and we're going to screw it up. So we are limiting the number of members with doors opening. We're going to work with those members, and then we're going to reopen the memberships once we think we've got all the soft issues and teething problems sorted. So we're on the home straight now. So we've got a COVID guarantee in place. If you are worried about your job, if you're worried about the uncertainty of are you going back to the city or not, guys, don't sweat it. We've got a COVID guarantee in place. Get your DD signed, pay your joining fee, get access to the online transformation program, GSquared Experience, which I've made reference to. And if anything happens to your future, we'll cancel it. We'll give you the joining feedback, no questions asked. We'll even let you have access to GSquared Experience. Thank you, appreciate that. And then we'll have personal trainers. Oh yes, very much so. They're going through a 5-stage interview process. Guys, a 5-stage. It's probably about the toughest presentation there is, the toughest assessment there is anywhere in the world, quite frankly. Yeah, we're really putting them through it. Are 4 small meals per day good for weight gain? For weight gain, if they stay between 12-hour window, yeah, they are. But again, you've got to consider that if you're talking about muscle gain, you've got to consider that obviously the body can only store proteins, and its amino acid profile is only kind of optimal for, say, 2 to 3 hours. So again, that's why I kind of caveated it and said you might want to consider that kind of late night, last minute, small meal, just to make sure you stay in a anabolic state. But 4 small meals per day, not sure what you mean by small. Drop me an email and I'll talk to you in more detail about that. What's my view on intermittent fasting? Okay, so if you don't have optimal levels of nicotinamide denucleide ribose, NAD, which is a renowned anti-aging component, which is deficient in most of us, you're not really going to get the optimal results in intermittent fasting. There's 2 sides of the story. One is that it's obviously optimal for us. The other is that it can put a pressure or a stress on the body. My view on intermittent fasting is that you want to just go for the 12 to 12 routine to improve autophagy. Autophagy is implicated in intermittent fasting. That's one of the things that they say it's good for. Personally, I wouldn't do it during the daytime. I wouldn't get anything from it. My diary is too demanding. My cognition is too much dependent on my nutrients. Although intermittent fasting can improve cognition, I appreciate that. But my fasting would really come from the 12-12 routine, if that answers your question. All right, guys, I think that is everything. Thanks for your time. Once again, my apologies for the delay in starting. That was entirely my fault. I must do better with tech. I spend too much time with my head in journals and reading stuff about nutrition and not enough time about working with systems clearly. Catherine, is there any other questions that have flagged up that I may have missed, or are we all good?
I think that's it for now, Andy. Thanks.
Splendid. No, my pleasure. Thanks again, Catherine, for accommodating me, and Ruby. And guys, have a wonderful week, and do keep in touch. Inquiries. Oh, how can you join? Oh gosh, I got lambasted by the team because I said on a BBC radio interview, I said go to the website, Tina, but apparently I'm supposed to say link in bio. So if you go on Instagram, link in bio. But just drop us an email. Drop us an email at inquiries@gsquaredclubs.com, and we will send you the Zoom link for the Monday webinar. Catherine, if anyone needs the email, please feel free to give it to them. It's fine by us. We want as many questions as possible.
No problem. I'll include it in the feedback email.
Wonderful. All the best, guys. Have a great week. See you soon.